Your brain is lying to you right now, not because it is broken, not because something is wrong with you, but because it is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And what it was designed to do is keep you exactly where you are. Most people think their brain wants them to succeed, to grow, to become the best version of themselves. But that is not what your brain actually wants. Your brain has one job: keep you alive. And to your brain, alive means familiar. Familiar means safe. And safe means stay exactly where you are. This is not a flaw. For most of human history, this was brilliant. Your ancestors tried something new and it killed them. They did not survive to try again. The ones who survived were the cautious ones, the ones who stuck with what worked, the ones whose brains screamed danger at anything unfamiliar. You are descended from those people, which means their brain is your brain, and their brain hates change. When you try to change something about your life, your brain does not just sit back and watch. It fights back, actively, aggressively, and it uses every tool it has. The first tool is something called the status quo bias. Your brain is wired to prefer the current state of things, simply because it is current, not because it is better, not because it is working, just because it is familiar. Studies show that people will accept a worse outcome just to avoid the discomfort of change. They stay in bad jobs, they stay in bad relationships, they keep bad habits, not because they cannot change, but because their brain has decided that the discomfort of staying is still less scary than the uncertainty of changing. The second tool your brain uses is something called loss aversion. Research by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that the pain of losing something feels twice as powerful as the joy of gaining something equivalent, which means when you think about changing, your brain does not calculate what you might gain. It calculates what you might lose. Your current routine, your current identity, your current sense of who you are. That potential loss feels enormous, even when what you are losing is something you do not even want. Here's the part most people never think about. Change is not just a behavioral challenge. It is an identity challenge. When you try to change a habit, you are not just changing an action. You are threatening a story. The story you have been telling yourself about who you are. If you have been telling yourself you are not a morning person for 20 years, waking up early does not just feel hard physically. It feels like a betrayal of yourself. If you have been telling yourself you are bad with money your whole life, saving and investing does not just feel financially difficult. It feels like becoming someone you do not recognize. And your brain will resist that powerfully because your identity is one of the things your brain works hardest to protect. Consistency of self feels safe. Change of self feels like a kind of death, and your brain treats it that way. So most people try to change through willpower. They decide they are going to be different. They commit hard. They push through the resistance. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, it works. And then it stops working. And they fall back into the old pattern. And they blame themselves. They tell themselves they are weak, that they lack discipline, that they just do not want it badly enough. But here's what is actually happening. Willpower is a limited resource. It runs out. Every decision you make throughout the day depletes it. Every act of self-control drains it a little more. And when it is gone, your brain defaults back to what it knows, back to the familiar, back to the safe, back to the pattern it has been running for years. You are not weak. You are just fighting the wrong battle with the wrong weapons. So how do you actually change? When you are working against millions of years of evolutionary programming, the answer is not to fight your brain harder. The answer is to stop fighting your brain at all and start working with it instead. The first strategy is to make the new behavior feel familiar before you do it. Your brain resists what is unfamiliar, so make it familiar first. Visualize the new behavior in detail every day. See yourself doing it. Feel what it feels like. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between a vivid mental experience and a real one. The more you mentally rehearse the change, the less foreign it feels when you actually do it. The second strategy is to make the change so small your brain does not notice it. Your brain's threat detection system has a threshold. Big changes trigger it immediately. Small changes slip under the radar. This is why trying to completely transform your life overnight never works, but changing just one tiny thing, and then one more tiny thing, and then one more, till it does, not because small changes are more powerful in theory, but because small changes do not trigger the brain's resistance. They get through the defense system. The third strategy is the most important. Change your identity before you change your behavior. Instead of telling yourself you are trying to become a healthy person, tell yourself you are a healthy person who is still learning what that looks like. Instead of saying you are trying to get better with money, say you are someone who values financial intelligence. The behavior follows the identity, not the other way around. When you act in contradiction to your stated identity, your brain feels dissonance. But when you act in alignment with your identity, your brain supports it because now change does not feel like a threat to who you are. It feels like an expression of who you already are. Your brain does not hate you. It does not want you to fail. It is just doing its job, a job it was given millions of years ago. In a world that no longer exists, your life is not threatened by unfamiliarity. Your survival does not depend on staying exactly where you are. But your brain has not gotten that memo yet, so you have to send it yourself, one small familiar step at a time, until change stops feeling like danger and starts feeling like exactly where you belong. Subscribe to Level 1 because every week we explore the psychology behind why humans do what they do and what you can actually do about it. See you in the next one!